Okay, everyone. My name is Chenghao. I'm currently an assistant professor at the University of Oklahoma, working in the Department of Geography and Environmental Sustainability, as well as School of Meteorology. So this work is actually part of my postdoc fellowship in Stanford Center on Longevity. So I'm also very happy to first, introduce our work on longevity-ready cities for the first time in the community of urban climate. So first of all, just a big background about our research, as most of you are probably already fairly familiar with, global population. Our urban population is increasing over time consistently. Currently, we have about 55% of global population living in cities. But according to the projection of UN's World Population Prospects, we are expecting about more than 68% of the population living in cities toward the mid of century. So this kind of trend is actually consistent across different continents, as you can see from this figure here. So a parallel ongoing phenomenon is the global is a process we have made so far regarding our human life. So this figure here shows the rising life expectancy in the past 100 years. While going back to the beginning of 20th century, which was already 100 years ago, our life expectancy globally is only 32 years. But currently, we almost doubled our global mean life expectancy. So, this great achievement is actually made possible by our substantial improvements in our healthcare systems, our hygiene and sanitation, and of course our in general social economic developments. So these trajectories are also accompanied by another trend. As our birth rate decreases and life expectancy increases over time, we are seeing an increasing share of global older populations across the entire world. This is especially the case, in some countries like United States, China, and also Japan. So as you can see from this figure, global population by a broad age group, back in 1990, we only have like 60% of older population, but this number is expected to increase to about 16% by mid-century. So this concurrent aging and urbanization has also created numerous challenges. Considering the urban infrastructure we currently have in our cities, our crosswalks, our side crossings, our sidewalks, they are not very accessible to our older population. And also, social interactions are also lacking commonly, among older population, which created the so-called social isolation issues. So to tackle these challenges, the World Health Organization actually proposed the concept of age-friendly cities back in 2007. So in this, pioneer report published in 2007, Global Age-Friendly Cities, a guide, WHO defined age-friendly cities as an inclusive and accessible urban environment designed to promote active and healthy aging. Well, this concept, highlights eight main domains in terms of age-friendly cities. So, including outdoor space and buildings, transportation systems, housing, and also social participation, and also other aspects of our social environment. Well, since the publication of this famous report, cities and communities in different countries have strived to build age-friendly cities and communities. WHO actually has this online database called a Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities, in which they document, I think, over 600 actions developed by different communities and countries. Although as pointed out by the WHO's guideline, creating age-friendly environments require process across a life course. So we need to look at this problem from a life course perspective. But more than 80% of the actions documented in this database are still focusing on older population. So uh, however, the conditions of our health when we get old is actually not is actually a cumulative is actually a result of our cumulative interactions and exposure to our surrounding environments. So these include, not only our, early childhood, adulthood, and older age, but even our prenatal period. So, for example, what do we eat, or like what do we, how often we exercise, or even places we go, can also have these cumulative impacts on our health outcomes as we age. So this kind of effect is the so-called cumulative effect. Well, here due to the limited presentation time, I will only give you two brief examples of cumulative effect found in previous epidemiological studies. So the first study here is uh, the it's a cohort study conducted in France, which examined a cohort of the short-term and long-term outcomes of heat stroke following the famous extreme heat wave back in 2003. Probably some of you live in Europe, you still remember that, very. Okay, 5 minutes left. Okay, so what they found is heat stroke in urban areas can have significant impact on the long-term mortality rate, and the individuals survive even including the long-term mortality rates for those individuals survived the heat stroke. Another cohort study in UK found similar trend, but focusing on later life, a higher level of access to urban green spaces in their childhood and adulthood is actually strongly associated with their better cognitive aging when they in their later life. Of course, there are other urban environmental factors that might also have cumulative impacts, such as green spaces or like even civil infrastructure. So another commonly recognized issue in our cities is the environmental inequities and environmental injustice that are closely related to our health disparities. So this include not only green spaces, but also exposure to UHI, and also our exposure to air pollution. So conceptually, all the gaps we saw because of the environmental exposures can be represented by these discrepancies among this human functional capacity as represented by these dashed lines. And this can in general our functional capacity gradually increase in our early life stages, and gradually decreases with age toward our later life. So older age often sees more rapid losses, as shown by this graph. So the environmental related disparities can create gaps among a population across all life stages. So as represented by all these dashed curves here. So what most age-friendly cities are currently doing is to close these gaps in our older ages, as represented by all these dashed arrows. Well, in comparison, it would naturally, require much less effort if we can, sort of tackle these gaps in the life stages where they emerged in the first place. So, to extend the age-friendly cities framework proposed by WHO, we proposed the concept of longevity-ready cities. Okay, so which aim to bump up all these gaps in early life stages. So compared to age-friendly cities, longevity-ready cities apparently should be more efficient than the previous concept. So in comparison to age-friendly cities, here's our what we define as longevity-ready cities. So since we proposed this concept, we have seen cities and communities around the world implementing it. Here is one example in Singapore in which they are proposing to build longevity-ready neighborhoods. And our paper has also been quoted in the recent report released by National Academy of Medicine in the U.S. And we are also seeing a lot of applications in the U.S. Some states are proposing to build longevity-ready state, which is fairly ambitious. And of course, we also, did this longevity-ready design in last year, focusing on real-world designs regarding longevity, which are, almost all of them are longevity oriented. So just some final thoughts on longevity-ready cities. So compared to age-friendly cities, which are currently facing a lot of funding issues because funding is usually limited in some developing countries. So integrating longevity-ready concepts rapidly into existing ongoing urban planning and design projects can be much more effective. And second one is, although I already reviewed a lot of, cohort studies in this study, we clearly need more cohort studies to quantify, the cumulative impacts of different urban environmental factors. And also, our understanding of other factors related to urban physical environments is still very limited. For example, the ongoing installation of many smart sensors in our home to prevent falling of older people. All those factors, their long-term impacts are still poorly understood. And last one, this concept can also be readily applied into urban social environment or aspects related to our social environment. We can also do longevity-ready cities. So if you want to learn more about our concept and also the cohort studies or epidemiological evidence we reviewed, you feel free to go to this paper, which was published in 2021 in Nature Aging. And thank you. And also, my lab is hiring, so if you are interested, thank you. I take that.
Thank you. Due to the limit time, maybe one quick question from audience. Yeah, please.
Do you have any examples of urban design policies which implement longevity?
So, example, right? There are several examples I just reviewed, but I will mention another one, which is a so-called low emission zone, which is a concept proposed in Europe. Some researchers in Germany, they are actually doing cohort studies to study the long-term impacts of this, policy implementation on children's health, which apparently the effects of which can only be observed after 10 years. So we clearly need more cohort studies.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Let's move to the fourth presentation.